Hello, everyone. It's the latest edition of Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, the tennis betting podcast brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook, with me, Nigel Seeley, your host, and I'm joined by our senior ATP call handicapper for Because We Win, Sean Calvert. We're joined on a Wednesday. This is a new day for us. We've said usually do a Thursday, but we're now moving to a Wednesday. So we're going to have action on the ATP Tour on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Sorry, that's wrong. Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Monday as well.
No, I could see Sean's face there thinking, oh, I can't do another day. And it's actually Sunday, Tuesday, and Wednesday now. So we moved the Thursday to the Wednesday. So make a note in your diaries. Sean, how are you, mate? Apart from giving you a massive panic attack there when I thought you had to do another day. You good? Oh, well, you got a t-shirt on this bloody horrible this weather.
It's not great, is it? But as I said to you before the show, I work in a kind of garden studio. Obviously, it's wooden, so it's it keeps the heat in the summer. So it's basically too hot in the summer, and in the winter it's freezing. So it's warm in here, so I'm all right.
Very, very brave man. I have a shirt, a jumper. This is August.
It's not that cold, is it? It's not that cold.
There is rain lashing onto my window here. It's chilly. It's about 62 degrees. I don't know what that is in.
What's that in real money? About 15?
About 16 or something like that. It's absolutely this is dreadful. I can't go out because it's wet everywhere and windy and blowy. 35-mile-an-hour gusts, and we're saying the whole world is on a meltdown. And
I think we're getting it a little bit later, sort of end of August, aren't we? This supposedly hot weather.
Well, we'll see. Our hot day. We'll have a hot day. Anyway,
we'll be moaning about 40 degrees and miles too hot.
We'll be moaning about the heat next week. So anyway, it's just look at this layers of jackets. I went out last night to watch a comedian. I had a jacket, a hat. In August, insane.
Was he any good though? That's the question. Was he any good?
He was very, very good. But some of the material I'll have to tell you after the podcast. Some of the jokes I'll have to tell you after the podcast.
There's a lot of adult-rated content in this show at the minute, isn't there? What with all the stuff going on in the Reaper Barn and your nights at the comedy club, there's all sorts going on.
I can't even give you one of the.
Let's move on then.
Of the jokes, but they were that bad. Anyway, let's go on. It hasn't been a good couple of days for us. We have to admit that first. We're on a bit of a bad run on our match bets, and both of our outright picks in Washington and obviously in Kitzbühel have departed early doors in the first round. So not really ideal on that, Sean, but we're still showing some profit, 5.88 units up for the year, which is about 4% return of your money. And there's still lots of tennis to come. Just before we go on to tomorrow's matches, obviously we've lost Korda and we lost Lajovic. Is there anyone on the outright markets, in particular in Washington or Las Cabos, that you may have seen? I think they're playing quite well and going under the radar, or someone you might be looking at on the future markets, or you haven't really bothered?
I've had a little. I mean, the obvious one to take place of Korda would be Tiafoe.
Right.
This is his home tournament, Washington DC. Used to go there as a kid. Obviously highly motivated. The thing that there's two things that put me off backing Tiafoe outright, really. One, he's got a poor record against Korda, who we won't have to play now anyway. And the second one is his record here isn't particularly good. I think he's 6-6 win-loss or something like that. That's roughly his record anyway. Struggled quite a bit with the pressure here. Maybe things will be different this year. He's a bit of a different player now. He's the obvious one. He's the one that's obviously going to be highly motivated out of everybody in the tournament. So now that Korda's departed, you would be looking at, or I would be looking at Tiafoe to replace him. But it was another strange one from Korda. He went 5 from 24 on breakpoint chances, failed on 19 breakpoint opportunities, served at just 48%, and he had a medical timeout for a leg issue. Scored more points in the match and lost. So that's kind of how it's been going at the outrights. We've been getting a couple of semi-finalists that have sort of lost in the semis, and the next week a couple of lost in the first round. It's high variance stuff anyway, the outrights, but yeah, we're not having much luck on the outrights this season, to be honest.
No, not that good, but still in profit. That's the main thing, and it's all about winning here, and I'm sure you will win if you follow this podcast and these shows here, but not to the amounts that we must admit that we would be quite happy with. Anyway, let's move on to tonight. We might as well start with that match. Frances Tiafoe, you mentioned him there. He's plus 550 to win this tournament. He's the tournament's second favourite behind Taylor Fritz. A lot of reasons to like him on the outright market. I think that it'll give Fritz a good game here, if they meet up. And with the record you said here in his hometown tournament, motivation as well, and the route through now with Korda out the draw. That plus 550 will be very, very tempted by a lot of it. Well, it'd be very popular with a lot of bettors stake side with Bet Rivers. But let's have a look at his match. He plays against Junjing Zhang. Tiafoe is a very heavy favourite here at minus 360. Zhang is plus 270. The spread is 3.5. Zhang receives 3.5 with a plus 106, and the total is 22.5. They have met once before in this year's Australian Open, and Tiafoe won it very, very easy, 6-4, 6-4, 6-1. Zhang, though, knocked out Ben Shelton in the first round. I played in running on that match. I bet Ben Shelton, and I think we may have got a little bit carried away with Ben Shelton. I thought he might be a next big thing, but not quite sure at the moment. But Zhang has did all right in qualification. He's come through 2 matches in qualification, and he also come through 2 matches on the main draw. So he's 4-0, beaten by Nishikori last week in Atlanta. So he's playing well, but he's up against Tiafoe, who's motivated and in good form as well.
Yeah, they're training buddies, Shang and Nishikori. They both train at the IMG Academy in Florida. They both have the same coach, Dante Bettini, so they would have known a lot about each other. A lot of people might not know a lot about Shang. Aggressive left-hander, likes to attack. Had a bit of a issue with glandular fever, or mono, as it's known as, at the start of the year, set him back a bit, but now he's back fit again. Apparently his nickname's Jarry, from, as in the mouse off Tom and Jerry, so I'm told. Not sure what that's all about, but there you go. As you say, he's beaten Ben Shelton twice in back-to-back weeks now, hasn't he? Beat him at Atlanta, beat him here. I think, just touching on Shelton, I think he's just trying to play the same way time after time. It doesn't seem to have any variation. And if it's not working, he doesn't seem to be able or willing to change things. He just keeps doing the same thing and hoping it's going to somehow change the course of the match. And it isn't really working for him at the minute. So I think he needs to have a look at his game. He's play with a little bit more margin. I think he goes for too much a lot of the time, Shelton. He's got some decent power on him, Shang. Not particularly off the serve, though. I think that's perhaps what's holding him back at the minute. As you said, Tiafoe won pretty comfortably at the Australian Open. The odds then, though, Tiafoe was 1.14, minus 714 chance that day. Now he's roughly 1.28, minus 357. So his price has kind of doubled Tiafoe. So that shows you the improvement that Shang's made in recent times. But it's difficult for me to fancy Shang to win it. He might give Tiafoe a decent match, but I can't see him winning. I think it's just Tiafoe for me. I can't come with any real value bet here. I just think Tiafoe will win it, but Shang might have his moments because he does have quite an attractive, aggressive game, as you saw yourself yesterday.
Yeah, I think with the Tiafoe advice here is that we expect him to win here. We wouldn't bet him at minus 360, but certainly a plus 550 to win the tournament when you consider the draw is opened up in that bottom half with obviously the departure of Sebastian Korda and obviously the form of Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's in that bottom half of the draw. It was certainly the weaker section of the draw, I thought. Hurkacz has also gone from the draw in the top half as well. So it's looking like a draw that's mapped out.
Dimitrov was good as well, though. That's the other thing. Sorry to just put in there, mate. I think Dimitrov is. We're going to talk about him in a second, so we'll come on to that in a minute.
Well, when we talk about Dimitrov, just go into the match. We'll go into the match as well at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I like McDonald yesterday to beat Dimitrov. I actually bet him to win the first set. McDonald unlucky again with that 7-6. It ended up, didn't it, to Dimitrov, very tight tiebreak. I think it was 8-6. I think the rain's just started here as well. So yeah, but he played well, very, very well, Dimitrov. McDonald threw absolutely everything at him in that first set, and Dimitrov, considering it was his first match coming back from the grass at Wimbledon, I thought it was really impressive, and we'll talk about his match next. But and he has a decent record against Tiafoe as well, so I think Dimitrov could be another one to add into your thoughts as far as the outright's concerned.
Yeah, I'll get you the price on Dimitrov in a second to win the tournament. But let's have a look about that match. He's up against Emil Rusevuori. Dimitrov is minus 265. Rusevuori is plus 205. The spread here is minus 2.5. It's minus 165. Rusevuori plus 2.5, plus 125. And the total is 22.5. If you look at the head-to-head between the two of them, they've met twice before, both this year. Once at Queen's Club on the grass. Dimitrov won 6-2, 6-4 in a very one-sided match. And at the French Open on clay, which isn't Dimitrov's favoured service, it isn't Rusevuori's either, Dimitrov won that as well without dropping a set. So he's played twice before, both this year, 5-0 to Dimitrov. And in the last match they played, which was the best of 3 sets, the handicap was 6 here. So the way Dimitrov has played this week, not only is he a bet probably to put in a parlay at -265, I expect him to beat Rusevuori fairly comfortably. But the spread here, -2.5 at -165, or even maybe go up one, -3.5 at plus money, would entice me into having a wager here, because I think Rusevuori is probably a little bit of a fade for the next couple of weeks.
I think the thing with Dimitrov is always been fitness. His record. Well, I say always been in the last sort of 5 years or so. Is fitness, but he looks fit at the minute. As I said, I expected him to be challenged by Mackenzie McDonald, and he certainly was in the first set. There was nothing in that could have gone either way. And then McDonald, I think mentally he just realised that. Excuse me. Mentally, he just realised that he'd thrown everything, his best tennis at Dimitrov, and it wasn't good enough. So he kind of down tools a little bit in the second set. Talking about fitness, Rusevuori is another one for me that looks dodgy in the heat. He had the doctor out again yesterday in his 3-set win over Nishioka. Another match, by the way, that Rusevuori should have won in straight sets, gave up a lead, as he so often does, Rusevuori. I think he was 5-2 up in the first set tiebreak there, ended up losing it and having to go 3. So it's not helping him, Rusevuori, this habit he has of not being able to close out sets. As you said, they met at Queen's Club. Dimitrov was a 1.85, as big as 1.85 priced up to win that match. That's a -118 in American. Now he's 1.38, -263 against the same guy, admittedly on a different surface, only a month or so apart. So, I mean, I think Dimitrov, for me, that price is very, very short. But if you look at the stats of the head-to-head, 2 meetings, as you said, grass and clay. In terms of the service points won and return points won totals, Dimitrov 112, Rusevuori 88. And out of those stats, the key thing that I picked up is that Dimitrov has won a huge 46% of the return points. And consequently, Rusevuori's only held serve 64% of the time. So the Rusevuori delivery is giving him nothing, really. It's giving Dimitrov no problems. He's not getting enough out of his serve, Rusevuori. The thing that would put me off Dimitrov on the handicap is, as I say, fitness is one thing. The other thing is he's only won 1 of his last 8 matches in Washington, D.C. in straight sets. And that was the one against McDonald yesterday where he could have dropped the opening set. I'm actually leaning towards 2-1 here to Dimitrov at +260. I think I'm with you in the sense that I think he wins it, but I think Rusevuori on his best form, I think he has been troubled a bit by an elbow injury lately, Rusevuori. His best tennis is good enough to win a set, but I'm not sure it's good enough to win the match. So that's perhaps a value play that I'd be looking at in this one.
These aren't official picks. I know a few of you have tweeted us and asked for the official picks. Sometimes we only have a certain amount of time to record this, and we don't have the time to recap the official picks at the end of the show. But what we'll do is we'll recap the ones that are official picks that go into that record at +588 units up so far at the end of the show here. We'll have enough time on this one because it's very difficult with 3 tournaments and outright markets to be able to get everything in. So no official pick there, but a lean for Sean for Dimitrov to win the 2-1. I'm going to go for Dimitrov -2.5. So hopefully we can both cash a final set 6-love win for Dimitrov or 6-1 win for Dimitrov.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, gets us both in the winner's circle. So that's what we would like there. Just a couple of little bits here. These matches are tomorrow, but we don't know the order of play yet. You head to the Bet Rivers website. There's going to be about 30 different markets on these matches, many props, lots of different betting opportunities, and you can live stream the matches as well. We don't know the order of play, but 12 p.m. Eastern time, they will be starting, and these matches will feature throughout the day. Also, we've got a new YouTube channel. I've mentioned it a few times here, and I know we seem to get a lot of people watching these shows compared to the subscribers that we have on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe on the YouTube channel. It means a lot to us to subscribe. We have to get some more subscribers, and we want you to be able to get an alert and enjoy the stuff. And also give us a comment if there's anything you like or anything you dislike, or any questions you may have. You can always tweet us at Because We Win, and we're happy to answer your questions on the show. Okay, let's move across now from Washington to Mexico. And when we did our little planning for this year, where the tournaments we're going to go to, we make some big mistakes. I mean, both of us go to Hamburg was a huge mistake when you consider Croatia was on the doorstep.
That was my second choice. I did choose Umag first, but I got poo-pooed by Natasha's work schedule. That's why I ended up going to Hamburg.
Oh, well, and Los Cabos is one that I quite like the look of as well.
Well, they've moved. I tell you what you could do, because this is a bit of you, because they've changed it next year. Oh, yeah. They've moved Los Cabos in the schedule to February to be next to Acapulco. So you could do Acapulco and Los Cabos back to back weeks.
Going loco down there, mate.
It's February. Yeah, February. I know. And it'll be great. It'll be absolutely. I would love to do that, but I think it's just logistically, I'd never get away with it, because I'd be going to Indian Wells like a couple of weeks later. I'd never hear the end of it. My life wouldn't be worth living.
Well, I've always got my annual Dubai trip, which I love Dubai, so I'm going to Dubai, and I was thinking of going to visit my friends and the people I met at the World Cup before to Dubai. So Los Cabos may have to wait.
Plenty of options.
Unbelievable option, but one option will not be on the list next year is Hamburg. I've seen it, done it. That's definitely off the list.
I've done it now as well. Yeah, that's
finished. That's yesterday's. Let's move on to Les Cabos. We've got Cabos. These matches are tonight, so we've got 3 matches tonight. Now, obviously, on the graphic here, we've got them in a different order of the time order, but we'll do them in time order. The first match we are going to have this evening, it's 9 p.m. start. It's Dominic Kopfer. He's two pretty tour veterans, really. James Duckworth. I mean, I've watched James Duckworth play on grass at Wimbledon and Queen's Club and all the grass courts probably about the last 15 years. It's amazing how he keeps going. But this guy's
he's only 31. Was he? What was he? 16 when he?
Mate, I probably saw him at Queen's Club. I'm guessing 12 years ago. Well, my son would have been about 5.
Yeah, possibly. He's 31 now, so not that old.
Yeah, but he's been around long, and he was always a good player to bet on the grass. He would always be a nice price. I saw him play. I tell you a match to see him play. I saw him beat Thomas Burditch at Queen's Club. That's how long ago that was. And he beat and he was a big price. And I was with my brother, and we bet James Duckworth to beat Thomas Burditch. Check it out. I'm sure that's the match. I'll check it out in a minute when you give me a breakdown. But anyway, James Duckworth is up against Kopfer here. James Duckworth has been playing a lot of hardcourt tennis this year. He's played 39 matches compared to Dominic Kopfer, who's only played the 6 on the tour. The last time they met, and the only time they met, was at 2022 last year. Duckworth won in Atlanta. If you look at the rankings between the two of them, Kopfer is obviously slightly higher. And he comes in after making the quarterfinals in Atlanta last week, whereas Duckworth has been playing a lot of low-level tournaments. And when he gets into a main draw nowadays, he usually gets beat in the first round. But the odds here, I think, are quite interesting. Kopfer is -177. James Duckworth is +140. The match starts at 9 p.m. and there's a whole host of props and markets, currently 29 of them available on the BetRivers website. Do you think the tour veteran Duckworth at 31 has got a chance against Kopfer, or was Kopfer's big serve going to get the better of this one?
I think there's a few interesting stats in this match that lean me towards thinking that Kopfer is too short here. The first one is that James Duckworth has won his last 13 matches in a row against left-handers. Wow. Kopfer is obviously a left-hander at all levels, that is. So he's clearly got no problem with left-handers, quite the opposite. If you look at the main level matches he's played against left-handers, he's either won the match or won a set in 8 of his last 10. So that's pretty good form as well against left-handed players. He also beat this opponent, Dominic Kopfer, this time last year in Atlanta in 3 sets. Duckworth was favourite for that match, actually. 1.73 -137 favourite that day, Duckworth. And now he's a 2.4-ish +140 underdog. So that immediately gets me thinking that the prices aren't quite right. I know Duckworth's had a struggle. They both had a lot of struggles actually with injuries over the past 12 months. But both of them, Duckworth was top 50 about a year or so ago. Then he had another injury, real bad injury, and he's had to kind of come back through the challenges and kind of battle his way up. He seems to be kind of winning that battle at the minute. And a battle is what I expect this match to be on the slow courts. The other thing that makes me think Kopfer is too short, if you look at the last 10 main level matches both of these guys have played on outdoor hard, their stats are exactly the same. Both 5-5 win-loss, both with a service points won, return points won total of 98. So there's nothing to split them on the stats. As I said, Duckworth's got a great record against left-handers. this, to me, Kopfer's coming back from his own injury problems. This has a real feel of a long, tough battle in the heat and survival of the fittest about it to me, because it's very hot and humid out there in Los Cabos. Over 2.5 sets here is my play. It's plus 132 chance for Bet Rivers, or it was earlier. I can't see Kopfer winning that easy. I think it's going to be, if he's going to win it, it's going to be long.
I like the total games as well. So I always sort of traditionally play the total games rather than the total sets. And I've noticed with yourself, Sean, over the years, you would opt for the sets rather than the total games. Is there any particular reason for that? Or
it depends. I'll come on to the Jarry match in a minute, which I'll probably lean on over games. But I just feel like this is a match where they'll both have a good set each, and it'll come down right down to the wire for them to win it. Over games, I would tend to be looking at for maybe big servers, guys that don't return particularly well. Maybe 2 longish sets, like a 7-6, 7-5 or 7-6, 6-4. That's the kind of thing that I'd generally be looking at for over games. Over sets, I tend to feel like something's really finely balanced, and it's gonna have to go the full distance.
Yeah, and there is 29 different markets, including the market that Sean likes there, over 2.5 sets, and the market I like on the total games, which is over 22.5 at minus 113. So lots of action there. It's a 9 p.m. start this evening in Mexico, Eastern time. So 9 p.m. this evening. So you've got plenty of time to head to the Bet Rivers website and place that bet. And is that going to be an official pick, that one?
That's the one official pick for today.
So we've only got the one official pick today. So if you're watching this show, there is just one official play today on the 5 matches we're previewing, and that is Kopfer against Duckworth. We are going for over 2.5 sets, which is plus 132 with Bet Rivers. That is our only play for today. Let's move on to the next match. And before we move on, I've just done while you're there, I've done the Google for Berdych against Duckworth. My memory isn't that great because I know we bet Duckworth. I thought he won, but he actually lost. It was 2 sets to 1, but it was a real long match. It was one of them games we had chances, and he lost to Thomas Berdych, and it was 2014. So 9 years ago. I thought it was about 10 years ago. I was trying to work out the age of my kids. So that's how when you get old now, you work out things, how old you were with the children. That's how I remember things. But so that was the match. But unfortunately, my memory of the match was correct, but my memory of winning the bet wasn't correct. Shows you what bettors are like, didn't it, Sean? We forget all the losers.
Yeah.
You're probably
right. I don't know. I can recall quite a few.
Well, anyway, that was the 2014. Thomas Berdych should have lost against Duckworth. Duckworth should have won that match. I thought I was there and I thought he won, but
you would expect, knowing Thomas Berdych, you would expect him to lose that sort of match. But so that's probably what you were thinking. You probably thought Berdych threw it away again, but obviously he didn't.
We bet him. I know we bet him, and we had a few cheers, so he must have had a chance. But we also had a few beers as well, so that's probably why we thought that it was the other way around. Now, let's move on to the match you mentioned there. We're gonna go in a funny order here. We're gonna go into the match at 11:40 p.m. The only reason I'm going to go there is because you mentioned it a little bit there in your conversation in the last match. It's Brouwer against Nicholas Jarry. Now, this one here just looks like it's going to be an epic. I can't believe the line I'm just seeing here. Anyway, Nicholas Jarry here is minus 375. Brouwer is plus 285. The spread is 3.5. Jarry is minus 132. Brouwer is plus 104. Now, a couple of months ago, we did a Jarry match where the total games were pitched at 25.5 or 26.5 or something ridiculously high against Stefanos Tsitsipas. And we at the time we spoke about Jarry and how good he was. This is a match where Jarry's a big server, Brouwer's a big server. The conditions are they're not fast, but they're not slow either.
Sort of slow to medium at best, I think.
But the total games here line is 22.5 with over the dog at even money.
Yeah, that's what I've got written down here.
That to me looks very low. I was expecting to see 24.5 here minimum. I'm surprised by that. Really surprised by that.
I think the layers here are just thinking that Jarry's going to win this pretty easy. I think that's the reason. If we look at Jarry against left-handers, he hasn't played that many at main level on hard courts. Most of his matches against lefties have come on clay, but he's played 3 main level matches against left-handers, and he's played 4 tie-break sets in those 3 matches, which perhaps comes as no surprise. Jarry's last 10 main level matches on outdoor hard, he's only broken serve 10% of the time, winning just 31% of return points. So he's not really changed much from the sort of the guy that we kind of stereotype him as, which is a big server, big hitter, not so great on return. The stats are still suggesting that that's the case. Now Brauer he's not top class, but he's not that easy to put away. His stats are very, very respectable actually. In 2023 at main level away from clay, he's 5-5 win-loss, and his service points won, return points won total is 101. He's played some very decent matches. Has Brauer. The fact that he's a left-hander as well, something that Jarry's not that familiar with playing on hard courts, and he certainly hasn't put them away easily. He certainly hasn't been putting them away under 22.5 games. So I just feel like this is an opportunity, a reasonable chance if you want to take it, to back Jarry on the overs. The slight worry is the fact that his court isn't particularly quick. That's perhaps another reason why it's a slightly lower total. But even so, I think that's probably the play if you're having a bet on that one.
Well, I'm going to do something I never usually do, because I usually let you get the tips. But I'm going to get involved in this. I'm going to play a unit myself on the over 22.5 at evens. So I'm going to put that in as an official pick. Only because I don't look at these odds as much as you do, yeah, but I have a rough idea in my head what I think it should be. And I never look at the odds until you give me your argument. And then I try to decide whether I'm going to be with you. 99% of the chance I'm always with you. And something I've got an open mind listening to you and listening to your judgment call. But when I look at the matches, sometimes I see 21.5 or 22 and expect, sometimes I see handicaps at 2.5, I expect that. But honestly, I was expecting this to be probably nearer 24.5. Brauer is, what I've seen from him, he's a big server. He doesn't have much of a game, but his serve is impressive. And Jarry, obviously, matches we know are always pitched high. The fact
that he's a left-hander, I think it'll be awkward for Jarry as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to make this a play. So I'm going to go over 22.5, especially with it being the outsider. I mean, sometimes when you see lines at 22.5 and you think, oh, you've got to be over there, you might have to pay a premium, so like a minus 130 or something like that. But it's the fact, it's the underdog. I don't see many people rushing to bet the under 22.5.
Yeah, the layers, they clearly don't like Bravo. They don't fancy his chances much in this one by the look of it.
Well, I disagree. We're going to go for an official pick from me over 22.5. A lot of people, they'll be fading that now automatically. It's an auto fade. They'll be like, oh, I'm not listening to them. We're going to listen to Sean. But my rule of thumb is that I have a tissue in a head, which price I think it should be. And then obviously I break it back and see if I'm right or wrong. On this occasion, I think 22.5.
That's betting, isn't it? If you think something's valued, then that's a bet, right?
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I'm in. So I'm all in. The final match we're going to talk about is at 10:20 local time. And it's Alexander Kovacevic up against Cam Norrie. Cam Norrie is a heavy favourite here. Again, minus 435. I wouldn't be betting Cam Norrie with your money at minus 435. Alexander Kovacevic, I've seen this kid play a couple of times this season, and I think he's got a big win in him at some stage. I don't think he's a world beater, but I think he's certainly got a win in him. The American, I think he's got something about his game I quite like. I quite like his personality. I quite like his confidence. And this looks a tricky little match for Cam Norrie. He hasn't played since Wimbledon, since he got beat by Christopher Eubanks in that shock result. Kovacevic has come through the first round pretty unscathed after a first round defeat last time out in Newport against Jordan Thompson, which isn't that much of that's not a bad result considering Thompson's record on the grass here. The spread here is 4.5. Kovacevic is minus 122. Cam Norrie giving up 4.5 is minus 104, and the total again receives a little bit low. Over 21.5 minus 107, and under 21.5 minus 120. Cam Norrie could be someone who's got through Wimbledon, had a lot of tennis, sort of playing it out for the rest of the season, or do you think he's going to go on a little spurt and try to play well for the US Open? I'm not so sure.
Well, he always goes well in Los Cabos. His record here is outstanding, actually. He's 11-3 win-loss in Los Cabos, and his service points won, return points won total in those 14 matches is 107, which is excellent. He breaks serve 35% of the time in Los Cabos, winning 43% of the return points. He has mentioned numerous times that he loves the conditions here, slightly slower, hard court, quite bouncy. It's perfect for his game, and that's kind of shown in his performances here in Los Cabos. Looking further into his performance in Los Cabos, Norrie's won by at least a 4-game margin 10 times in those 14 matches. I think if this was a situation where Norrie had a match or some sort of match practice, I think he'd beat Kovacevic pretty easy. The thing with Kovacevic is he's got a very flashy game. It's very attractive. It's very easy on the eye. Likes to go for it. Reminds me a bit of Shapovalov in some ways. Likes to go for his shots, but his rally tolerance isn't great. And against someone like Norrie on a slowish court, Norrie's just going to make him play an absolute ton of balls. It's just going to be one ball too many the whole time for Kovacevic, I should imagine. I can't see Kovacevic blasting Norrie off the court, which is the kind of way that Kovacevic wins his matches, by this all-out attack, low margin stuff that he goes for. I was slightly tempted by Norrie minus 4.5 games here at 1.97. The only thing that slightly puts me off is obviously Norrie's inactivity since Wimbledon, but he plays so well here, as the stats suggest. It is perfect for Norrie. If I was betting on that match, I would be betting on Norrie to win that with something to spare, to be honest.
Yeah, there you go. So that's why I listened to Sean. My first reaction there was
I'm not always right. That's for sure.
My theory was that Cam Norrie's obviously played a lot of tennis, disappointed in Wimbledon, and might be thinking, you know what, I'm pretty done for the year. But I don't. Sometimes players come into.
I'm not sure he's that kind of character. I know there's a lot that are that kind of character, but I'm not sure he's one of them. He's got where he's got to with really hard work. He's not the most talented. He'll tell you that. He's not a Roger Federer or whatever. I think he just wins a lot of his matches and has got to where he's got by just sheer guts and hard work and determination. That's my view on Cam Norrie.
So they are the 5 matches. Remember, the ones in Mexico in Los Cabos are this evening. The first match starts at 9 p.m. and the last match is 11:40 p.m. Eastern time. And the 2 matches in Washington that we spoke about, Grigor Dimitrov and Frances Tiafoe matches, are tomorrow. The order of play will be out later today, or maybe even early tomorrow morning. And the action starts there at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So you've got time to have a look at the Washington matches, and you have a little bit tonight. Los Cabos, you've got to make a move very quickly. So Sean, give us your one official pick for us for tomorrow's action or tonight's action.
Yeah, I took the over 2.5 sets in Kopfer against Duckworth. That's a 2.32 plus 132 chance for Bet Rivers.
And I'm going to give you one as well. I'm going to go for over 22.5 games. Rara against Jarry at even money. That's 11:40 p.m. My one starts, and 9 p.m. Sean's pick starts as well. There's loads of action going on here on the Bet Rivers Network here because we win on the Betting Weekly Studios. We have this fantastic YouTube channel, which I mentioned earlier. If you could please give us a follow on that on YouTube, subscribe, hit the bell. You'll be alerted every time any bit of content drops. And there is loads of content coming your way. The European Soccer League start next week. It's the Charity Shield in the UK, England. We have Arsenal against Manchester City at the weekend, and the Football League starts on this week. Next week, we have all the European action starting up, and the following week, it's going to be football crazy with so much content coming your way from the boys here at Because We Win. You can follow all that stuff by downloading the podcast, and you can download this podcast, Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, on your preferred podcast provider. And you can also give us a follow on our our Twitter page and our Instagram page. Instagram's getting a little bit busy. We can see a little more followers there. We could do with a few more. I don't think Kim Kardashian's got much to worry about just yet, Sean.
It's our content from Hamburg that's done it, and that was top draw.
I think Kim Kardashian and David Beckham are absolutely quaking in their boots. But you can follow that Because We Win. That's the same handle for Instagram and the same handle for the Twitter. Okay, enjoy your day. Good luck with our bets. Myself and Sean will be back on Sunday. So that's it for us this week. We'll be looking ahead to next week's tennis action. A little bit later on tomorrow we'll have a World Soccer show with Steve Vish and RJ looking at all the lower leagues before the main action starts in Europe. So good luck with your bets. Sean, enjoy the weather. You're going to need to you're going to come out of the back garden there and go right going into the main house.
I've got to get the washing in now.
You've got to get the washing in quick. So the rain's coming down. Hopefully where you are, it's nice and dry. Good luck with your bets, and we'll speak to you again on Sunday. All the best.